So Bronson is an experienced project management officer with a demonstrated history of working in agricultural innovation industry, skilled in blockchain and machine learning, with a focus on climate, agroecology, and regenerative food systems in using scientific refinement solutions in Africa. Innovation, community, and multidisciplinary collaboration style are central to Bronson's approach. The Source, which is the organization that Bronson represents as a research and development manager, is an agricultural company that solves problems faced by marginalized communities in sub-Saharan countries. They involve everyone as an actor on the stage of empowering communities on the importance of agriculture, good agricultural practices, proper and quick responses, and to identify the needs, develop strategies of mitigating the impact of marginalized areas, and to promote sustainable development that is fully owned by the local communities. Um, the Source Plus is committed to bridging the gap between different disciplinary, advocating and offering consolation in terms of humanitarian assistance, and the vow to, be able to support the marginalized groups. I'm very pleased that Bronson is able to join us today. Bronson was also an active participant in the STFC Food Network program, and very pleased that you could share some of the work you've done today. Thank you very much. I'll leave it to you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here today. And so basically what we focus on is on agroecological approaches within Africa. And majorly we focus on twin solution, whereby we look at the farmers, the communities, how are they participating in what we do and fully on. It's actually basically just what actually Jensen has gone through, but we're looking on the higher level whereby how do we interact, how do the community interact with these softwares? How is it simple to them? Because sometimes we have different information from different players. We have the farmers, we have the researchers, and we have the policymakers. And sometimes we have disconnect within the community when all these players cannot understand each other. So what we do is we bridge that gap by use of data and simplify that to communicate in different players within the industry. So I'll go through basically what we do. So the Source Plus actually work with small-scale farmers in East Africa region and broadly in Sub-Saharan, where we source sustainably produced honey and ensure transparency across the value chain by a use of blockchain technology and machine learning. So, and when you look at the industry, actually, climate risk has actually been in the recent year has been actually amplified, and this has actually led to disruption of practices of among 1.6 million, especially beekeepers in Africa. And this has led to challenges cascading to honey contamination, which actually is the second most related component food globally, and also changing environmental conditions, which has also altered floral patterns, affecting also how bees gather food and exposing them to contaminants. These are the farmers and honey. And this has triggered a domino effect within the ecosystem, whereby there's project rejection at the supermarkets. I think you mentioned that, and also reduced market access for farmers or livelihood. And this also, in turn, threatens the financial stabilities of communities. And also, consumer alike on the other side are left uncertain, especially in the food system, prompting question about the safety of the foods they're consuming. But in this case, we are looking at the honey itself. So on the other hand, actually now, what we've been able to achieve during the as we were part of the STFC or SFN program, we developed a solution that works to bridge the gap between climate risk, market acceptance, and different players within the market, within the ecosystem or the value chain through a traceability and monitoring system that's driven by a blockchain, GIS, machine learning, big data, and also above most, it integrates offline use. Because if you have a system and farmers cannot use at the ground, it becomes useless. So what we're able to do is we're able to provide insights to counter contamination risk, which allows tracking of honey and pinpointing harvesting points and enable comprehensive screening and certification for the stakeholders. And we have different kind of data, so whereby we have data on contaminants, which is actually sent to the governments, and they're able to formulate formulas, the policies based on actual data and future plans based on actually real-time data. For the farmers also, they're able to receive or consume or communities able to receive data in terms of the management of the farms. These are specifically hives within the ground and ecosystem environment at a broader level. Then you also have now the other key players who actually the consumers are able to actually we're able to build their confidence in ethically produced honey, which brings the market access and translate to heightened livelihood and financial stability for the beekeepers in Africa. So one of the program we conducted was in Burundi, and so in red and yellow are the major actually study areas, whereby we are mapping the distribution of apiaries and from where the occurrence of the data actually within these regions were categorized by representative climate gradient. So what we have in each region, we had apiaries distributed in different regions within this map. Actually, if you look at the below map, and so one of the key things we were actually able to monitor was actually the occurrence data and also data analysis, actually, which we actually were able to take into consideration. Then also we have topical variables actually which affects that. So major thing we're looking at was the honey pest species occurrence. Because with honey is actually how it's related, pest related, it actually affects or determines on how the bee health of the colony and also eventually also the contamination within the lower level. So data were collected in these regions throughout the year, and they were actually all aggregated and prediction analysis based on various geographical data sets which were actually obtained in this region were registered and vector and clipped to a boundary of study sites within this region, and divided into two main groups. One was the occurrence, as initially stated, and also the predictor variables. So, and predictor variables also categorize in remote sense and bioclimatic variables, which actually was used to determine ecological niche out of the machine now where we talk about learning model which was developed was introduced at this point, and which actually was able to remotely classify and censor biometric variables defining this, and which was normalized by vegetation index. Why we do that is because when we talk about beekeeping, environment flowering patterns is actually what produce foods for the bees, and also pollen is the food to the bees, sorry, and also we have the nectar, which is actually honey, also which is also food to the bees, but also where as humans at that level we consume this. So when we talk about this climatic data is actually what we aggregate and help us inform the simulation and distribution of honey pest between different regions. So this is actually two major regions we picked, but we did around 7 or 8, and what we came to realize actually is a climatic condition in this data set. Actually, one of the major key things like major climatic conditions were affecting beekeeping in these regions, and pesticide appearance or occurrence was temperature, rainfall, and also derived by climatic summaries variables. And with this, now we went ahead and did ecological modeling, and which in turn actually was enabled to inform our decision in this region. So one of the other aspects we are looking at equally was actually remote sense variables, which actually within the machine learning and blockchain brought about increased accuracy and precision models by reducing overfitting and also predictivity of flowering patterns and pesticide occurrence within these regions. So this also led to understanding factors that influence spend or multiplication and spread of honeybees pest across different regions in which we marked. And so eventually now this also has enabled us to overall actually bring an impact, because although most of the honey pests are wider spatial range and can be found in various climatic conditions, there are specific conditions that play a key role in determining the distribution. For instance, we have hive beetles and wax moth. They can thrive in alternative food sources while varroa mite are obligated ectoparasites for the bees. Therefore, the former two are more likely to affected by climatic variation at the latter, and therefore enable us actually to focus on these key bioclimatic and remote sensing variables within our occurrence and provide and translate that information to something which is understandable to the communities and the farmers. So, and through that, now we are able to provide proactive climate risk management at the communities and also reduce contaminations within the communities and risk that happens to that by providing insight to maximize contaminants or also other pesticide exposure to the bees and training farmers on organic beekeeping, agroforestry practices, because actually is the source of the food, as I said earlier. And this has also resulted to ecosystem restoration and resulting also to also climate mitigation or global warming mitigation, whereby we've been able to mitigate around 86,000 kiloton within a span of 2 years in certain regions. And this also has in turn led to honey production boosts, crop pollination boost, and also increased market because you're able to track and backtrack the origin and also mitigate this certain contaminant risk and eventually boost farmers' income within Africa. So, and with that, I'll stop there. So, in case you want to reach out and you want us to discuss further, there is our email address and we can discuss further. Thank you. Back to you, Effie.
Fantastic presentation. Thank you so much, Bronson, for sharing that insight on the work you're doing with honey, with the bee farmers, and also the importance of honey and the application of technology to ensure that we can improve the whole process.